Today, I bring you a tale that isn't just a story, but the cry of a lonely soul. This is the story of an orphan girl named Noura. She had no one to call her own, no one to even whisper her name. But when the entire world abandoned her, a shadow began to appear by her side every night. It was neither human nor fully jinn, but in her desolation, its presence became her prayer. Then one night, when the girl asked for nothing, God granted her something not everyone is destined to receive. So, let's begin the story. In the farthest corner of the village stood a broken down house. The cracks weren't just on the walls, but also in the heart of the girl who lived there. Her name was Noura. She was only 16, but life had already stolen her childhood. After her parents died, there was no one left to cry for her, no one to care for her. Known relatives made her a stranger in their world. She had stopped questioning God. Perhaps now, only her loneliness remained as her witness. Every night, as Noura wrapped herself in a torn blanket and tried to sleep, a shadow would stand silently in the corner of the courtyard. It was dark, cold, and quiet. For many nights, the shadow only watched, and Noura simply endured. But one night, when even the rain grew silent, Noura asked with a broken heart, "Who are you? Why do you come every night into my solitude?" For the first time, the shadow spoke. Its voice didn't echo in the air. It resonated directly in her heart. "I am the one whom people call a jinn, but like you, I am also alone." Noura trembled, not from fear, but from the raw truth that connected her lonely soul to another lonely being. From that night on, that house was no longer just abandoned. It became a sacred space where a broken human and a wandering jinn met. A place where only tears echoed and prayers often returned unanswered. A new presence settled into the silence of Noura's life, one that couldn't be seen but was felt in every moment. The jinn came every night, sat from a distance, and listened to her recite her prayers. Sometimes he would look into her eyes, other times at the leftover food on her plate. Noura had stopped asking questions. Maybe she had grown used to having no one to share her sorrow with. For the jinn, all of this was new. Seeing tears in human eyes, witnessing patience in the face of hunger, and hearing the name of God in shattered hopes. One night, as Noura sat silently, breathing deeply, the jinn came near her and said, "After seeing you, my punishment feels heavier. I am a sinful jinn whose soul has no rest, but in your prayers, I find peace." Noura didn't flinch, she just smiled, as if she already knew that destiny was weaving its own mysterious game around her. She didn't know that the one whose presence brought her comfort would one day leave her in the deepest loneliness imaginable. That night was different from the others. The moon, too, was incomplete, as if even the sky shared her loneliness. Noura sat on her prayer mat, reciting her zikr with tears frozen on her lashes. Then, a cold breath passed through the air. The jinn appeared again, but this time, there was no calm in his presence, only a restless energy. He didn't stay in the corner this time. He sat right beside Noura. For the first time, Noura looked up. There was no question in her eyes, only exhaustion, as if she had finally given up hope that anyone human or jinn could ever understand her pain. The jinn spoke softly. "Noura, I have something to tell you, something I have no right to say, but can no longer hide." Noura said nothing. Her prayer beads slipped from her hand and fell to the ground. In that moment, time itself seemed to stop. The jinn's eyes were like dying embers, and his voice was like the silence of a grave. He said, "I have to part from you, Noura. God has chosen another path for me, and that path does not go through you." His voice trembled, and a single tear, refusing to fall, froze on his lash. Their bond had become a form of worship, but perhaps it could never be complete. That night, Nira asked nothing, and the jinn said nothing. Both were silent, as if only feelings remained between them. Nura looked directly at the jinn for the first time, but there was no complaint, no question, no plea. There was only the shadow of a broken faith. The jinn's soul shivered. He had wandered for 1,000 years, but for the first time, he feared separation from a human. He knew God had heard his prayers, that he was to be freed, but he never imagined that freedom would cost him this much. Nura whispered softly, "If you go, this house will become quieter than before. But I will say nothing, because your departure might be your destiny, and my loneliness might be mine." The jinn closed his eyes, as if asking for one last prayer before turning to dust. And then, that moment came. A cold breeze moved through the house, and his presence slowly faded away. But before leaving, he left behind a single word, spoken very softly, very deeply. "Nura, your name is now written in my soul." After he left, Nura found herself just as before. The same broken room, the same silence, the same dripping roof. But now, everything felt heavier. Every day she sat with the same old prayer beads, but now, silence prayed more than words. The jinn was gone, yet his presence still lingered in every corner, as if someone had rubbed his memories into the very walls. When the wind blew, it felt as if he had returned. But when Nira turned around, there was only emptiness. Nira no longer questioned God, because she had realized that some bonds are tied not by prayers, but by loneliness. And that bond had now settled deep between a jinn's soul and an orphan girl's lonely heart. Every night, Nira would lie on her bed, thinking, "Does he remember me the way I remember him?" And then, her tears would sink into the pillow, and the night would turn into an unfinished prayer. One night, Nura was very tired, not in her body, but in her soul. She looked up at the sky and said very softly, "Oh God, if he cannot return, then bless me with the peace of his memory." That night, the air felt different, as if the wind itself had carried her prayer. Nura lay down, closed her eyes, and never woke again. In the morning, when the neighbors came, her soul had departed, Atina, but there was a smile on her face, the kind that never comes from loneliness. Beside her bed lay a small letter. Only one line was written: "I was alive, but lonely. Yet, I died in the moment someone remembered me." And over that letter stood a shadow, unseen and silent, blended into the stillness of the dust. A jinn who now sat by her grave every night, reciting the same prayer beads, whispering the same words, "Your name is now my soul. True love is that which cannot be seen, yet becomes a prayer." There was no name, no form, yet every night, he was there. She loved a soul that never belonged to the world of humans. There was no union, no separation, only a shadow that became a prayer every night. She died alone, but love remained alive on her grave. The prayer beads still move, whispering only his name. And in this way, two lonely souls left behind a bond that cannot be seen, cannot fade, will forever live in the fragrance of prayers and memories. Thank you for listening to this story. If it touched your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more tales that explore the depths of the human, and sometimes, not so human soul. We'll see you in the next one.